it's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Sunday 5 p.m. demo at the Sentimental, oh my goodness, at the December in Lapland online crop. The problem is I've got the wrong thing up on my screen that I usually look at, and I didn't even post the link yet. I got ahead of myself, as usual, and so I'm reading the thing on on the Facebook group instead of reading what I read on YouTube. So let's start again. Hi, it's Monica from Life is Art. This is the Sunday 5 p.m. demo at the December in Lapland online crop. Boy, it must be the end of a weekend, the end of a crop, because that's just what happens sometimes. Let's get rid of the mouse now so we can see what's going on. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. If you're watching later, just leave a comment so I know you stopped by. I see Deborah's here. Hello, hello. Good evening. And Mom's here. And Allison's here. Wonderful. So we're going to be using a collection from the September to December mini catalog. This catalog is just about done, and a lot of the stuff is now in the last chance section. And we're going to be using the Sentimental Christmas. And this is a fabulous set for more than one reason. One, it's a very cool vintage vibe for Christmas, but also because it is this paper pack that when you purchase it, $4 of the price will be donated to support children's literacy. So it's the gift that keeps on giving. And so we're going to be using this collection of papers. We're going to be using our mini alphabet dies. We're going to use this seasonal peaceful season stamp set that we have been using. Sorry, the name just slipped my mind. We're also going to be using a cool stamp set. Let me see. It is called The Perfect Pairs. And so we're going to be using that to create some embellishments for our page as well. So lots of things happening. Let's get started. I see Leslie's here. Hello. And Lynn. Howdy, howdy. And Heather. Oh my goodness. Everybody is finding me now that I finally posted the link. I'm going to go ahead. Actually, no, I'm not. I am going to be using a piece of basic white cardstock for my base page. But before we get into that, I want to do some stamping. And so I'm just going to grab a different piece of basic white. There we go. And we're going to do some stamping with that Perfect Pairs stamp set. And what we're going to be stamping today are the little cookies because they are super cute. So I'm going to grab the cookies. And we're also going to be stamping the little carton of milk. So we're going to take that. And there's also a little moo cow head that goes on the front of our milk carton. We're going to grab all of those stamps and get ourselves some blocks. Maybe we'll stick it on sort of upright. And let's grab another block for our milk carton. There we go. And one for the little cow head. Excellent. Okay. Now we need our Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And I want to do a couple things. Stuck my finger in the ink already. Let's ink up a couple of milk cartons to start. Just like that. We're going to add the little cows on the front. Although I was saying the other day that my husband can't have any dairy. So I could make it look like almond milk if I wanted, since the cow is a separate stamp, right? And then we're also going to ink up and stamp some cookies. because we love cookies. Just ink, ink, ink. Now, I want to do a little something something here. Let me just grab a sticky note. All my sticky notes have run away. And what I want to do is I'm going to stamp one of these cookies on my sticky note up where the sticky bit is. And let's just switch that out of the way for a minute. Grab my scissors, and we are going to fussy cut out. It's always good to have sticky notes or something similar on hand when you're crafting. We're going to fussy cut out this little cookie, which is not hard at all because it's just sort of a lumpy circle. And we're going to cut right on the line. Normally we leave a halo, but for what we're going to do here, we want to cut right up against the line, all the way around. And of course the sticky note wants to stick to me. That's okay. It can if it wants. And, oops. There we go. Awesome. And what we've created now is we have created a mask. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to ink this up. I'm going to stamp a cookie, and then I'm going to take my mask and I'm going to put it right on top of that cookie I just stamped. And then I can stamp another cookie right beside it. And that gives me, if I can grab my mask now, that gives me overlapping cookies in case we want more cookies. Let's try that again. Let's stamp that up, and you can use this mask plenty of times, basically until the sticky wears out. So you can stamp cookies to your heart's content. And did you notice that these cookies have chocolate chips or things, and they are actually hearts? Somebody asked, how do you get heart-shaped chocolate chips? And I'm like, I don't know, but it's very cool. Now, I'm just going to quickly cut this because we don't need all this paper while we're working. Put that in my drawer so I can use it the next time I want to stamp. Let's also snip these apart. There we go. So we've got lots of things. Now we can add some color to these. For my little milk cartons, I want to use my light pretty Peacock. I'm going to use the brush end. Just going to test it here. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit to the tab at the top where it's glued shut. And then I'm going to add a line here, and then across here, and here. Okay, so I'm just adding some of my own detail to my milk carton. I don't want to color the whole milk carton. That's not necessary. We can leave some white on there. Milk cartons often have a lot of white on there. You could color it brown and make it chocolate milk. Lots of things you could do with that. But we're just going to go ahead and make a couple stripes on there. Easy peasy. We don't have to make coloring hard. Then I'm going to come in with my light real red. Again, give it a little test. And the little straw that's in here has some diagonal little stripes, you know, like a stripy straw. So I'm just going to go ahead, and it's a bendy straw too, super fun, and just add every other one a little red stripe. That's it. That's all we're doing for our milk cartons. Then we've got our little cookies here, and for my cookies I'm actually going to use the copper clay to color my cookies. I'm going to start with the light copper clay. And to color my cookies, I'm going to use the brush tip, and I'm going to work in little circles. Because cookies are nubbly and crumbly. And so if I work in little circles, I can kind of work my way around the whole thing. And even where I come back and overlap where I've already colored, it looks okay because we're just making nubbly cookies, right? That's the way the cookie crumbles, as they say. So we can color all the way around our cookies pretty easily. And it doesn't even matter. I could color over those hearts, but I'm going to kind of go around them. Quick and easy. We're going to try and stay within the outside lines, but the other lines, not such a big deal. Okay, and then if we switched to the dark copper clay, let's make sure I've got, yes, the dark copper clay, then we can add a little bit. So I'm going to go again with little circles, and you see there's little lines on my cookie. I'm just going to go around those lines, and then like a little drop shadow on my chocolate chips, and then anywhere there's a dot on my cookie, I'm just going to add a dot. I'm keeping it simple, keeping it easy, because you know our cookies sometimes get a little toastier around the edges, right? There we go. And then for my chips, my little hearts, I'm going to come in with the dark pecan pie for a little bit different color. And I'm going to color in my chips. Just like that. So you can see it doesn't really matter if I had gone over onto the hearts with my copper clay. And you might think, copper clay, that seems like a weird color, but I think it makes my cookies look nice and rich. Now again, our video is doing the distortion that it's been doing all weekend, so tall and narrow cookies, but they are kind of roundish. So there's some lovely cookies. Let's do one of the double cookies too. Why not? So that's the dark. I want the light. Give it a check. Let's do up some cookies. Does anybody else bake cookies or other things like that for Christmas? This we're going to do a layout today, and this layout that I'm doing is actually some pictures of a couple of my kids helping to make Christmas cookies, and kind of family tradition cookies, ones that I've been making since they were little. What are your favorite Christmas cookies that you either purchase or bake or somebody else bakes? Do you have some favorites? Let me know in the comments. I can tell you that some of our favorite treats at Christmas are snickerdoodles and ginger doodles. So if you've never had a snickerdoodle, it's like a sugar cookie that's in a ball, and you roll it in cinnamon sugar, and then it doesn't take long to bake, and then when it comes out they kind of deflate, but they're kind of a little bit crunchy on the outside, a little bit chewy on the inside, and they're a favorite. And then we also make ginger doodles, which is basically a gingerbread molasses type cookie that I have done in the same fashion as a snickerdoodle, so that you roll it in sugar, not cinnamon sugar, but just sugar, and bake those up. So we do ginger doodles and snickerdoodles. We always do Christmas crack. I'm sure some of you are familiar with what Christmas crack is. That's made with soda crackers, and you line your baking pan with soda crackers, and then you make like a brown sugar and butter, or in our case margarine concoction, and boil it on the stove and pour it all over, and then you pop it in the oven for like 5 minutes, and it gets all bubbly and hot because of the hot sugar, and then you sprinkle chocolate chips, or in our case carob chips, all over the top, and the heat melts the chips, and then you kind of use a offset spatula to spread them out. So yummy. Christmas crack. And it's called crack because you can't stop eating it. One time, maybe about 2 years ago, we made a pan of it, and we threw it in the freezer to help it cool faster, because everybody was anxiously awaiting to eat it, because I think it was even like Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve when we finally got around to making it. I think it was New Year's Eve. And so we threw it in the freezer, and as soon as we got it out, we cracked it. It was literally gone. Now, there are 5 people in our house, but that's still a lot of Christmas crack to consume in like 25 minutes. But it's one of those things. Once you start, you can't stop. It's so delicious. So we make that, and then what else? Leslie says they're having their family baking day next weekend. Oh, and you get a little competitive with decorating the gingerbread houses. Yes, I know some people who do that. They actually have like little prizes, and then everybody judges the houses when they're done, and they can pick a prize. Super kind of fun. I used to do a gingerbread decorating day at our church with all the ladies, and I would make all the gingerbread ahead of time, and then make the icing and get all the many different things that you could possibly think to decorate with, and then the ladies would come with their own plate or whatever to put their gingerbread house on, and we would just spend the afternoon making gingerbread houses. Lots of fun. I think that's kind of the fun bit. It's not really any fun to be stuck in the kitchen all by yourself doing something, but if you get your family involved and or your friends, I've also done gingerbread house decorating with friends, and one time I even had 8 little girls at the house decorating gingerbread houses. That was pretty fabulous. Or decorating cookies. I know a couple of years ago we didn't do our baking until basically Christmas Eve, so the whole family pitched in, and we made a few batches of different cookies. But what other cookies do we like? We also like gingerbread cookies, of course. But the pictures that I'm going to have on this layout, that particular year I made some the dried cranberries, the craisins or whatever. So it was cranberry, walnut, and carob chip cookies. Oh, they were so good. So those are in the pictures too. And of course some sugar cookies, shortbread, all those traditional things, right? So now we've got our milk and cookies ready to go. Let's bring in our base page. I'm going to stick it down just to make life easier for me. Stick it to my mat so it doesn't move around. Hopefully I've got the camera in a good enough spot that everybody can see pretty much what's going on from top to bottom. And we're going to start with one of the designer series papers from the Sentimental Christmas collection. And this is one, it's got candles all over. It really has nothing to do with baking, but it's bright and cheery, and there's a little bit of fruit in with the hollies, and I thought that would make a nice base for the bottom of our layout. We're doing a single page layout, but this particular design could easily translate onto a double page as well. So we're just going to, let me grab that, stick this down first. Now I do want some of my white base page showing, and so I'm going to come up about 1/2 inch from the bottom before starting my papers here. So I'm using my mat to help me line that up, 1/2 inch from the bottom. And then I wanted to bring in a little bit of sparkle to this, and I have this photo of some sugar cookies with green, the colored sugar sprinkled on top that Julia was sprinkling and then baking. And so I decided that some garden green Glimmer paper would be just the ticket. Allison says snickerdoodles are a favorite of hers, and they do Buckeyes. Yes, M&M cookies and sugar cookies. Buckeyes, those are the ones where you make the ball and then you dip most of it into chocolate. Is that correct? I think so. And then you leave the lighter color so it looks like the Buckeye. So I'm going to stick down, I've just got a 1/4 inch strip times 12 inches, and or by 12 inches. And the easiest way for me to do that is to put my liquid glue right on my paper and then butt my Glimmer paper up to it. If I tried to put the adhesive on the Glimmer paper, I would have my fingers all in the Glimmer, or all in the glue. It would be a rather sticky situation. But that just seems to work out much better for me. And I don't know if you can see in the lights, but it looks so shiny, so sparkly. Nope, it's not going to show in the lights. I'll have to pick it up later and show you. Now I want to add in some plain cardstock as the mat for my photos because I want all my photos to be matted together. And here's where I ran into a little bit of a problem because the color that I wanted, and I tried a few and I wasn't happy, the color that I wanted, I didn't have a 12 by 12 sheet. So you'd use what you have, and I used my 8.5 by 11, which I had. And we're just going to do a little paper piecing. All I need to do is add a little inch on the end. So this is 12, well, it's 11 inches, but 12 inches by 6 inches. And it is Cherry Cobbler, which is one of the colors that you see in this paper down here, along with the pretty Peacock and the, what else is in there? There's pretty Peacock, there's Daffodil Delight, all sorts of good things. A little bit of crumb cake. Doesn't that sound delicious? We're talking to cookies, not cake. Yes, the Buckeyes, the state tree for Ohio. Right. All right. For some reason, Buckeyes remind me of chestnuts. Does that sound like about right? Are Buckeyes a bit like chestnuts? Maybe I'm remembering wrong. But so what I did was I took my 8.5 by 11 and I cut my 6-inch strip, and then I took the leftover bit and cut a 1-inch by 6-inch piece that I can just add here on the end, and it's going to be okay because there's actually going to be a photo on top of this. So very little of my join is actually going to be visible. So that's a-okay. Speaking of which, let's bring, do we want the photos yet? Maybe we'll hold off on the photos because the lights catch the photos and then we all get glare in our eyeballs. So then I want to bring in another strip of this same paper, bring it to the top, and kind of wrap around that Cherry Cobbler. So this is just a little 1/2-inch strip of that same pattern paper, and really you can't even hardly tell that it's candles other than right here. So it's more just for the color and for having a bit of pattern. Let's add our adhesive on there. So we've added a 1/2-inch strip. Did I tell you how much the one at the bottom was? I think this was 1.5 inches. Yes, 1.5 inches, and this is a 1/2 inch. And you know why it became that measurement? Because I had a 2-inch strip. That's what I had available to me. So in order to divide it up, I decided a little bit on the top and a lot more at the bottom. Robin says, s'more cookies. Oh, delicious. And you're baking next weekend? Awesome. Yes, I need to do some baking. All right. Now, one of the pattern papers from this designer series collection, Sentimental Christmas, has all these ribbon stripes going across them with the lovely hollies on there. And I didn't want the whole piece of pattern paper, so I decided to do what I love to do, and that is to fussy cut. So I have gone ahead and fussy cut this strip of ribbon and hollies, which may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I like it, so so I do it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it onto my paper here so that it's just sort of above, and all the ups and downs are filled in by that pretty Peacock pattern paper. But I don't want to stick it down just yet because we're going to tuck some cookies in here. And so I have some cookies already done, plus the cookies that we've put over here. And let's go ahead and add some cookies to our layout. Oops, we're going to add some milk and cookies. All right, now I want to kind of make sure this doesn't shift around too much. And just start building up our milk and cookies. And because some are single and some are double, it kind of adds a little bit extra to the layout because not everything has the white edge around it. I think that's the part I like about doing some masked and stuck together, is that they look like they're just kind of laying one on top of the other. They don't all have to have that white rim around the edge. All right, let's tuck another cookie here, and you're going to say, oh, but there's a gap. But we have a solution for the gap, and that is we're going to stick some of our milk in there. Kind of reminds you of when young children put out their cookies for Santa. Cookies and milk. I'm not sure how the tradition started, but I'm sure it's much appreciated to have a nice little snacky on the Christmas Eve. And let's grab one more cookie to add over here. For now, we may add a few more later, but for now we'll add one more cookie. I think we'll tuck it right in there like that. Lovely. Okay, now let's add some cookies over to the other side. Of course, I did a few extras ahead of time because, you know, you can never have too many cookies. Oh, try and get the backing off. Should have used my thingy. That one little swoop I have to keep an eye on because it goes up very high there. And I need it to all fit in. Let's grab a duo of cookies. I keep setting these strips over here instead of in the trash can. So now when I go to pick that up, I want to bring them all with me. There we go. And let's add in another carton of milk. Stick it a little hilter-kilter over there. Like that. More cookies. Who doesn't like cookies? I mean, maybe there's some cookies you don't like, but in general, who doesn't like cookies? It just seems like an odd question. I like cookies. All right. Stick that one up there like that. Maybe tucked in behind there. And then I think we can go ahead and stick down our border now. I'm thinking that liquid glue might be the way to go here because it's not even. Could pop it up with dimensionals, but that seems like a lot of work. We're just going to get some glue on there. Plus, if we put it on with glue and it's not exactly in the right spot first try, we do have a moment to adjust, right? Sometimes you just need that little moment to adjust. And I think that about does it. I think that's so pretty. That reminds me of ribbon candy. Do you know ribbon candy? I haven't seen it for a couple years, but used to be able to buy boxes of ribbon candy. And I always thought it was so fascinating. And of course, now with YouTube, I have seen videos of how they make ribbon candy, which is super fun. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of eyeball where 6 inches is, which is pretty much above this little tiny nip of holly right there. And we're going to bring in part of our title. And I decided we needed to bring in some more of that fabulous Glimmer paper. And I used my mini alphabet dies to cut out the word cookies. So that's why we've left a little gap in between our cookies here. And let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 letters. So the fourth one's about in the middle, give or take a bit, because the I might be a little skinnier. We're going to tuck it down so it's not floating too high up in the sky. You can even have it tucked under a little bit there, like so. That looks all right. Let's grab our tweezers and our liquid glue, because you know the drill. When we're sticking down little cutouts, we have this fun trick with the glue. We're going to start with the K. And had a little pause there as I contemplated the world. And we're going to stick down our letters. Cookies. And then we're going to do something that's very nerve-wracking, and we're going to stamp on our layout. It's always one of those things where you're like, we're stamping on the layout after we've done all the work on the layout. Then we decide, let's stamp on there, which is, you know, you got one shot. However, saying that, there is always a workaround if something goes awry. I have done it where I have stamped on a layout and it didn't turn out, and all I did was stamp on a separate piece of cardstock, make it into a banner, and stick it right over top. There's always something that you can do if something goes a little amiss, right? It's not written in stone that you can't change a thing. All right, so now that we've got that on there, we want to say that these are Christmas cookies. So we're going to bring in our Peaceful Season stamp set, the name that I couldn't get out of my brain earlier. And we're going to use the big word Christmas. We've been getting a lot of use out of it. And let's grab that. In fact, we used it earlier today. I'm going to get it on our block, and I am using a big block. And part of the reason I am using such a big block is because I want to see where my placement is going. And that's going to be important for this. Let's see if we can do this without getting ink all over our hands. I did that earlier today. Now, because I'm going to be stamping way far away from myself, I am actually going to bring this closer to me. And I'm also going to stand up, I think. So let's get this inked up. Inky, inky. And I've already got ink on the edge of my block. So good luck with that. Let me just grab a tissue to try and smooch some of that off before I stick it onto my layout. This is where you don't want to drop your stamp. And then you're just going to stamp it on there. Yay, success. Whew, sigh of relief. We managed to not get ink in weird places. And we got it stamped where we wanted it. So I started to say I'm using the big block because the big block keeps my hands out of the way. And that way I can see where I'm maneuvering a lot easier, right? Okay, now time for some photos. Let me just move. I got my dies and everything piled up here. let's bring in the photos. So we've got Joshua and Julia, and this is a few years ago, because Julia is now 14. This, I believe, was from 2018. And she was putting the sugar on the Christmas trees, and Joshua was cutting out more in behind, doing the rolling, you know, big strong arm guy. And there's the close-up of our little Christmas tree sugar cookies. And then here's some of the snickerdoodles with the cinnamon sugar on them. And then we have, these are the cranberry walnut carob chip cookies. They were super good. I think I need to pull out that recipe and make them again. And then here, this is when they were working on rolling the snickerdoodles. So, yes. Now, placement of photos. Can you see some reasoning behind where I'm placing my photos as you look at them, how they're laid out here? I'm trying to leave a little bit of that cherry cobbler showing because I'm matting all my photos with the same mat. I have people on the outside, and that's because these people are looking this way, and these people are sort of looking this way, although Joshua's looking straight ahead. And then I didn't want these two cookies right one on top of the other because they're basically the same shape. So for interest, I separated them. These ones I wanted down here next to this lovely glittery goodness that you can't really see on the camera. And then this one also had like a bit of the container showing that it was sitting in, which is a red container, which kind of blends in with the background. So instead of having that in the middle here, which would look like a weird gap, I decided to put it on the edge, living on the edge. So there's a philosophy behind where I'm placing my photos. All that to say that. So let's go ahead and add some adhesive to these. So this one is basically a 4x6, but I did trim it down just a smidge. So it's just 3 7/8 by 5 3/4. Now, let's see if we can get it centered. Leave a little bit of the gap there. Hopefully put it on straight-ish. And then we'll go over to this side. If you start at the edges when you're putting things on, then your middle can just sort of be centered in between everything. Let me use this. I don't like to try and use my finger to pick it off because I tend to bend my photos when I do that. I don't necessarily want to bend my photos. Alrighty. Let's stick that one down. I might have left a weird gap on the other side, but that's okay. How's it looking so far? Are you liking that little sparkly title with the glimmer paper? I thought that was a fun way to pick up on the sprinkles on the cookies. The garden green glimmer paper. It's part of the Festive Glimmer pack of 3. We used some of the granny apple on our cards the other day. I guess that was Friday morning. And this is the garden green, and then there's also red, which I think is real red. It's either real red or cherry cobbler, one or the other. All right. Yes, I moved a little bit, but that's okay. That's okay. All the bits are sticking. It's because I keep not putting them in the trash. I pile them up on the table beside me, and then when I'm done, I move them to the trash. If I'd put them in the trash in the first place, then they wouldn't be dragging all over. It's just habit and ease, right? It's just a little bit less difficult to just throw it on the table and then deal with it later. Alrighty. Look at that. I love that. I love when you have multiple photos that all kind of work together to use a single mat underneath them all to get them in there. But we can add even a little more. So I took one of the hollies from this ribbon paper and I trimmed it out because I thought, we could probably use that as a little accent down here with maybe, you could have a couple cookies and that, and you could have milk if you wanted down there too. So you put your cookies and milk with a little holly, a little embellishment going on there. I think that's super cute. So let's go ahead and stick that down too. And that's one of the things that I was talking about this afternoon or this evening with the ladies, is that I've had to be creative. Sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating, but I've had to be creative sometimes with embellishments to get the scale of embellishments that I want. And that means fussy cutting, which, boo-hoo, is not something that I enjoy at all, right? You know this. But it does make you have to be a little bit creative because you need to kind of think of ways of creating embellishments. And, it's a good practice to try, right? Get into the habit of thinking of things that you can do. So different stamps that you can use, different dies that you can use, and different papers, fussy cut items, all sorts of things. So I'm just trying to, I'm going to put it on the front of that. Maybe a little bit like that. There we go. So that is our layout completed. Now I should add some journaling on here. We can add a nice little tag or something. But that is pretty much it, except for I did bring in some bling. This is the Earth Tones Shimmer Gems. And these are garden green. And these are copper clay. And so those both work with the colors that we have happening here. So I thought it might be fun to add a little bit of sparkle maybe to a couple of these cookies, because there could be little sugary nubbins on there, as my son likes to say, nubbins. There could be little sugary nubbins on there that could be a little bit sparkly and catch your eye. But then we could also have some bling around our title. We could use the garden green for that, like so. Just create a little something something. It doesn't have to be a lot, but just a little something up there. And maybe we'll add a couple little blingety blings in these ones too, like that. And maybe here. You can even use a big one. Why not? Add a big blingety bling. Just like that. Now, you might not see that on camera, but I can see it in person, and I think it looks super fun. So there we have completed our layout for our Sentimental Christmas Cookies. And our family favorites, we've used the Sentimental Christmas pattern papers. We added in some of the Glimmer paper. We've got some cherry cobbler that we paper pieced in together to create our mat for our photos. And then drawing that pattern paper up to the top just for a little bit of color underneath this really fun swaggy fussy cut piece from the Designer Series paper. We've got our stamping from that Perfect Pair stamp set, creating our mountain of cookies, just like in the pictures. And of course, we've got our little milk cartons there. And then, of course, bringing in the Glimmer paper in our title with a bit of stamping and garden green. Then some bling just to bring it all together. And I hope you enjoyed seeing that layout and those items and how they can work together to create a fun layout. If you create a layout like this, be sure to take a photo of it and pop it in the comments where I post it on the page, and that way we can all see and be inspired by your artwork. And have a good rest of your evening. We will be on at 7:30 for Chat and Craft. There's also going to be one more game posted and some more information about where we're visiting today. And we'll see you then. All right, toodaloo. Bye.